Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Rolando, and we're on episode 280.
Yeah. Finally, like a nice round number.
It's going to be weird when we hit 300.
Yeah, I remember our 100, we had like balloons and confetti. And
maybe we'll do it again, just for kicks.
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to do the confetti cannon in here this time.
Yeah, in my place?
Yeah,
why? Is that like vengeance?
Yeah, because you've got all of your inventory. So on our 100th episode, you got to go back and watch it. We launched confetti, and it was in the room that I had all of my inventory. And I was picking up pieces of confetti for literally over a year after that. I'm finding confetti in places. So, 280, we're getting close to 300. And this is one of our update episodes. So we love doing our update episodes. It's a chance for us to kind of talk about the things that are going on in our life with reselling, what's going on in the world as far as reselling is concerned. And then we do those special BOLOs. So make sure you stay tuned because we'll be talking about some hot items that you should be looking out for, things you can be selling to make some good money on.
All right. So how are things going since we're updating here?
Man, so I'll say this right off the bat. So there are certain things when it comes to the algorithm on eBay that I like. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think some of that's just like superstition. But one that's absolutely 100% legitimate is listing means more sales.
Oh, 100%.
And not just because I do think there's the element of, the more you're listing, obviously, the more items you have in your store, more likely that somebody's looking for those items. We've talked about that a lot. But I think even when it's not that, because there's times where I've got basically the same items and I'll just relist a bunch of my items. It like refreshes my store and I start getting some sales. But I have not sourced like I want to source or listed like I want to list because pretty much my entire time, I mean, I kind of have almost 3 jobs, maybe 2 if you consider, because I teach full time, but then I also resell and then I do the podcast. And so between reselling and the podcast, it's almost like another full-time job. And almost the amount of time I have dedicated each week for reselling has been consumed or more has been consumed with trying to sell this fifth wheel. Whether it's showing the fifth wheel, whether it's buying certain things for it, whether it's buying ads for it, whether it's dealing with people. Oh, this person's going to come this date and this time. And so Saturdays, for whatever reason, and it makes sense because I'm at work, people are at work. So Saturday mornings end up being one of the number one times we show the fifth wheel. And so if you don't know, if you're new, I'm selling a larger item. Was my home for a while. Not because, I couldn't afford another home, but we did that so we could set ourselves up financially. And we're at a place now where we want to sell it. And I'll just say this. One thing is eBay has definitely taken a big tank. When we were looking at like our sales a few months ago compared to now, and it's like, man, like the activity is just not there. And it's our fault. It's our fault because I just can't get as many listings done, can't get much sourcing done. But the world of reselling is it's the same no matter what field you're in. I feel like even higher end items, because when we deal with eBay, sometimes you get sad stories being told to you. Like I need this for this, and can you give me this price? Or when you're doing, especially when you're doing local stuff, whether you're trying to sell locally or buy locally, there's story after story. People get ghosted. Like it's just. It could be a crazy world out there. And sometimes you learn not to take it personally when it's just things you're selling, but when it's like a personal item, like this is my fifth wheel and I'm giving up all this time, I'm having a harder time not taking it as personally. Like just this last weekend, I had 2 families very, very interested. One of them still might go through, but it was almost like a race between the 2 of them. We thought for sure we were selling the fifth wheel this week because one family came and the story they gave us, like they came with their whole family. They're going on a huge road trip. It's like a 2-year road trip, and then they're going to live in the fifth wheel in Florida, basically permanently after that. And the story essentially is they sold the house, they sold it to like an investor, and the money's in escrow. And the investor will release the money the moment they move out of the house, and that makes sense because if you're buying a house, that would be a contingency. You don't want to tenant. Yeah. You buy a house and there's somebody in there. Now you have to deal with evicting them. So he's not releasing the money out of escrow until they move out. But they basically said, we don't have a place to go. Like we can maybe stay somewhere for a day or 2, but they're like, you can't sell this fifth wheel, please. Like we will have the money by Wednesday. By Tuesday, maybe if we're lucky, we're working with the banks. But can you hold it for us? Like we'll give you a deposit. And part of me was like, okay, like, and it wasn't going to be a huge deposit because I only had like, $1,000 cash on hand or whatever. But then I'm like, this gets sticky too, because then if they fall through, then it's like, well, we need our money back. And I don't have contracts drawn up of what it means for like what part of the deposit is non-refundable and what. So I told them like, look, I'm like 99.9% sure if you can have the money by Wednesday, unless somebody comes with cash on hand, like tonight, like it's your fifth will, like you're going to get this thing. And they've been texting and texting and texting. So we showed the fifth will one more time the next day, another family that's interested, and their timeline's longer. So we text this family back that was saying like, we're going to be homeless if you sell this. Cause basically they're like, we can wait.
It's your fault.
Yeah. They're like, you can, if you, we can stay in our house for like almost another 2 months, or if we move out now, we get the money, but we have nowhere to go. So we need this fifth will. Because and it's true. There's not like they could just go buy another one, because I have a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom fifth will, which is not very common. It's a pretty rare thing. So I'm like, man, these people are serious. They're going to buy it. So I text them like, hey, like good news. Like the other family, they're not going to have money for probably in a couple weeks. So you guys are it's your fifth will. Like, let us know when you have the money. We will we'll set up the transfer of the title, and you can come pick up your new home. And I never got a text message back. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe like my text message didn't go through. So like I added my wife on as a group text message. I'm like, hey, just want to make sure you got my previous message. Ghosted us, completely ghosted us. Not even like a, hey, like we had an issue with our house or the money, or hey, we found another fifth will that worked for us. Just nothing, crickets. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like we invested so much time. I probably spent 2 hours showing them stuff, talking to them about it, going over things and listening to their story, texting them throughout the weeks, and just for them to literally ghost us. And normally I wouldn't take that kind of stuff personally, but it's like, man, like this is just annoying. But it's the reselling world. Like we deal with this no matter what. And so I've learned, and it sounds harsh. Like I feel like when you're a reseller, people can kind of look at you like you're harsh with certain things, but anybody can tell you a story. Anybody can tell you, and maybe it's even true. But the thing is, until there's money in hand and money's changing hands, it's just talk. It's all just talk. And I had one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got back when I was a landlord. We had to evict a tenant, and another guy that I met, and it was like at a party. I didn't even know the guy. He was like an older guy, much older, and he's been a landlord for years. And I was kind of telling him my story of like, man, this was such a nightmare. Like we worked with this tenant and they destroyed our house. And I was telling him some of the sad stories she would give us. And I've said this on the podcast before, but the advice he gave me was, no, she's telling you, I need a new transmission, or I need to pay for my dad's funeral, and I got to buy a casket for it, or whatever the story is. He goes, but no, what she's saying is not, I'll give you the money in a week because I've got to pay for my dad's funeral. She's basically saying you need to pay for my dad's funeral because that's my money that she's not giving me. Right. Like, so it's me paying for the funeral at that point. And so that's kind of the way I look at it, is you can tell me whatever story you want, but when it comes to money, like and not trying to be harsh, because I mean, we're all about compassion. Like PHP Podcast, like we
give free content.
Well, yeah, we're huge for charity. We're very compassionate people, but when it comes to business, you have to separate the personal from the business, because they'll give you whatever story they want to give you. And we believe you got to have good customer service. You got to do all those things. But when it comes to negotiating and all of those things, you can't let the pathos, the emotional side of an argument rule out over the logos, the logic. And we've got to stand on that. Like we got to be logical, and until money's in hand, I can't hold things for you. I can't, because everybody has a story and half of them are made up, and I can be ghosted.
Yeah, agreed. So kind of like The Godfather, it's just business, right?
It's business.
It's just business. But it's true, because I will tell you, this is going to happen more in this downturn economy. And I know, listen, I remember back in, when was it? June, May, I was talking about inflation, and I had people saying, Orlando, how do you know?
Transitory.
It's just transitory. And I've been saying since day one, again, we're not news political analysts or pundits, but you have to deal with the reality that you're in. And the reality was everything I was buying was more expensive. And now, and we're going to talk about this later on, and how it affects reselling. But now we're at a place where we're looking at recession here anytime soon, right? We can do I'm not going to do all the technical analysis as far as, look at inverse curve and,
well, I mean, it could be a recession, or it could be extended inflation. Like it's going to be one or the other, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to make a decision one way or the other, whether interest rates go up or whether they keep pumping out money because the economy is in a bad place, and those are really the only two options that they have right now.
More money, inflation's gonna.
Yeah. So, but it would prevent a recession. But if you start raising interest rates, then the economy is going to slow down, and that's when you hit a recession.
Yeah. So let's just talk about that real quick before that was going to be one of our reseller topics, and so this is going to affect all of us. I mean, right now there's data out that the average household is paying, I think it's like $240, $250 more for everyday items every month, right? And I think you've all noticed it. I mean, I'll give you a very simple example. My son and I used to love eating the tri-tip at Costco. There is this tri-tip where you just buy and you bake it, and it's delicious. And I remember it was the one time in the summer it was like $6 a pound. Now it's like at $9, $10. And so, going from $20 something to $40 something, that's a huge jump, right? Or I just go, there's my favorite barbecue spot. My favorite meal was $22 a plate. Now it's $29.99 a plate, right? So how does this deal with reselling? So, and I've shared this a lot on Instagram recently, but there's two ways to solve this as a reseller. One is either you raise your prices, right? Which some people have valid arguments that if you raise your prices, you end up not being as competitive. So maybe it's good to keep your prices where they're at. Let us know in the comments. What do you think? I mean, I want this to be an ongoing discussion. So, if you keep your prices where they're at, well, people are going to eBay and they're going to buy secondhand because they don't have the money to be dropping on retail. And so maybe that's going to help boost your business, or you end up just selling more.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to make more money.
Yeah. I mean, that sucks though, because you're trading one thing for another, right? Because you're working more for less, basically hourly wage. Like none of us would really think hourly wage unless maybe you're just starting out. But really it comes down to that. Even if your salary, like you can break down like what I make in a year, what I make in a month, to like how many hours am I working for the money I'm working? Because $40,000 a year, $100,000 a year salary is very different if it takes you 40 hours a week versus 60 hours a week for that same salary, because you're working harder for the same amount of money, or you're working less for the same amount of money. So yeah, if you're not raising your prices and you're working maybe 20% harder, but you're making the same amount as you were making last year or the year before, and you weren't working as hard, that's a pay cut. Even if your bottom line stays the same, it's a pay cut.
Yeah, agreed. And that's a scenario. Now there's an upside for reselling. And this is where you have to be cash ready. And so, whatever way you can do it, whether it means you sell more, whether, right now we're not giving financial advice, but if the markets are volatile and you don't feel safe, I find that reselling is safe, right? As long as you're, sourcing the items that, based on your experience, based on, your eBay research, Terapeak, whatever it is. And even Terapeak, might not be the same data. Like you might go, oh, I wonder, how much is sold for a year ago. It might not be the same, right? The price may have dropped. People have different wants and needs, but there's going to be plenty of opportunity to buy. So that's what I'm experiencing right now. I am buying like crazy. So because people are trying to offload stuff so they have money to pay for all the new expenses. Correct. Right. And so this is where, you have to make a decision. You have to, when everybody's going left, you have to go right. Grant Cardone talks about it in one of the book that we read. What was it called? The 100X. Well, there it is. No, it's up there. I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, one of them. But hopefully I didn't lose people once I said Grant Cardone. But I agree with this. Not like a perfect fan, for sure. Yeah, I don't agree with a lot, but I do agree when he discusses when everybody, and a lot of people say this, when everybody goes left, you got to go right. And I think it's the same thing with reselling. That right now, there are a lot of people that are willing to offload stuff, right? Because they're seeing expenses go up, or maybe they're now going, hey, maybe I need a little bit more cash to get into real estate because it's an inflation hedge, or I need to, diversify my portfolio. And so, for example, I had a huge Harley buyout last week, and I'm still working on that process. I'm thinking I'm a quarter of the way done. And once everything's done, then I'll, share more maybe on a YouTube or Instagram. I had another Rain Spooner buyout. I just keep having I had somebody contact me today that somebody has a collection of vintage stuff and collectibles, and they're up north and they like me to take a look and maybe sell it for them or maybe buy it out. And so I've had a lot of people reaching out. So I'm buying and I'm buying and buying. And Mike can testify because he can see even in the studio here, I have a lot of inventory in the studio because I'll talk about this in a moment, but eBay has been glitchy, and so I haven't been able to list everything how I want either. But so you have to decide, right? You have to decide: are you going to raise your prices? Are you going to sell more? Are you going to take, and advantage is not the right word, but are you going to make sure this opportunity capitalize on it? That there's going to be a lot of buying opportunities coming here in the next 6 months. If we hit a recession, there's going to be even more. Yep. Right. And that's where there's a transfer of wealth that happens. And again, I didn't experience that. When 2008 happened, I was a teacher and I was pretty oblivious to it. Like I wasn't an entrepreneur. I didn't think like that. You know,
I mean, you only have so many of these opportunities. And again, it stinks. Like it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt everybody. When there's bad financial situations, whether it's inflation or recession or stagnation or stagflation, or who knows, like it can get really bad. But like Orlando said, that's when the biggest amount of wealth transfer happens is in an economy, is during those times. And the economy always goes like that. There's always cycles. There's always a period of expansion and then a period of retraction. Like that is that you can watch it over the course of America's beginning: growth, retraction, growth, retraction, growth, retraction. And there's always these cycles. And so it's nothing new. And part of it's policy stuff, but part of it's just the nature of the way economies work. And so during those retractions, when things are not growing, when things are getting bad, that is when you have the opportunity. If you have cash on hand, imagine 2008, you had cash on hand, you were buying houses for pennies on the dollar, right? But if you were one of the families that bought before that happened, you're in a really bad place. Or same thing with stocks. Like as the stock market drops like crazy, everyone starts selling. That makes the price drop even more. Well, if you're in a position where you can just buy, eventually it might take a few years, but when prices stabilize and go back up, you just capitalize in a way that like most people on an average day basis couldn't even dream of. But you have to be in that position. So that's why we've been talking, I think almost since day one, of part of the reason we've done reselling is to be in a place where the next time there is an opportunity like this, we can capitalize on it. Unfortunately, I think if everything goes right with the fifth wheel, I think I'm in a place where I think I can. I think not as much as I'd like to, but it could be another 7 to 14 years after things like stabilize before an opportunity like this comes up again. And it's the glass half full, half empty type of thing. And yeah, it's going to hurt. I'm going to be suffering in a lot of ways, but can I come out of this 3 years from now ahead from where I came into it? And a lot of wealth is transferred from hand to hand during these times. A lot of people make poor decisions, and a lot of people who are ready and waiting and had money can make really good decisions. And I think as resellers, that's a good place for us to be, like you said, because people are, whether it's resellers offloading stuff or whether it's, and again, it's a sad situation, but you're helping people out. I'm thinking there's a handful of personal things that I'm selling my bike, I'm selling a Bob stroller, I'm selling some things that were like ours, but I'm like, this isn't going into my eBay fund. This is going into, hey, next time I need to fly out to, such and such for a job, or I need to do this. Like I have this money, because times are harder now. Like things cost more money. Gas is more expensive. So I'm selling things. So it helps me out. When somebody buys it, I'm not like, I can't believe they bought this bike for half the price I bought it for. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Now I have some money that I can use for the things that I actually need right now. So when people are doing that, when they're having garage sales, when they're offloading things on OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace, it actually puts you in a pretty good position because you can pick those things up. You are helping them. I mean, yeah, they might be losing in the short term. They lost a little bit of money on that item, but they need that money now. And you, as a long tail holder of that item, could make money on it, and it's helping you out. So if you've got the ability to be sourcing now, which is why it's so heartbreaking to me that I haven't been able to be out there sourcing like I want to be. But again, it'll all be worth it if this fifth wheel sells and I end up, making 25 grand.
Yeah, I agreed. So I'm hoping that sells soon. I know you are. But so it's giving me a lot of buying opportunities. So I have a ton of inventory. I've talked about wanting to be at 3K here soon. I'm at 28 something at the time this podcast drops. So I should be there by the next update episode. And it's hard because the more you sell, right, you got to keep listing to get those numbers going. But I've had some, things that have gotten in the way. One of them is my helper did get sick for a while. And, I want her to get better. My business is lasting on her mind, and that's how it should be. And she's back to normal. But the problem is eBay has been glitchy lately. Mm-hmm. So I've had the new layout, the one that looks like the mobile app, and I'll put a bunch of pictures And then what happens is the listing, like it says, whoops, something went wrong, and the listing disappears, and I have to recreate it. Or I put pictures to upload, and it's just loading forever. And it's not my Wi-Fi because I've used different Wi-Fi. I've tried on my phone. And so what I've had to do is I've had to create my listing on the desktop and then upload the pictures via my phone, which the new streamlined way allows you to do that. It's just, it's kind of annoying to do that. And my helper, she has a bunch of listings ready to go, but pictures aren't uploaded. Now, I wouldn't have talked about this on the podcast if this was something that just happened for a few hours. Mm-hmm. But this has been going on for a few days now. So if this has been happening to you, let us know. I don't want this to turn into a whole negative thing, but I'm just wondering, like, is it just Orlando's problem, or is it, a nationwide thing? The other thing that was interesting the other day, I was watching Rally Roots, and, there's not many people I expect to have 0 sale days, but they even had a 0 sale day. Right. And so I watched that, and, everybody has their opinions about stuff, but I go, okay, so something is going on. Right. And a lot of people on social media were talking about, like, whenever there's a major update on any platform, so slow down. I don't know if that's true, because I've had, like I've always said, sometimes I say my sales are slow and somebody's like, wow, it had the best day ever. Right. Or the vice versa. So not sure what's going on, but I will say this, like, this is the year for me to scale. I want to get to a place where I can, if I need to, like, I can move into another property, which I don't plan on moving anytime soon. But if it's necessary, but I've also had conversations with other people. I always say network with people because you never know what relationships will bring. Right. And so I have a friend of mine who does, he does commercial real estate and so on. And I've been talking about, dabbling into that a little bit, right? But what's that going to take? It's going to take me having the capital to do that by growing my eBay business, right? Or maybe, picking the right crypto and at 100x's, right? But chances are eBay is probably going to be the better bet on that one. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Nice.
So, all right. Hey, before we move on, I love and appreciate all of you, but I am grateful for all of you that have signed up on Patreon to help support us. It's been great. Mike and I took a major hit. We went from having, consistent, support that kind of motivated us. And we would do this anyways, but it motivated us to create more. And then it just died. And we've shared this many times when Buy Me a Coffee transitioned to another form of payment. And now Patreon, though, has been our way to go. A lot of you have signed up. A lot of you that are listening, I'm pretty sure you got the email and you're like, oh, this is annoying, I'm not going to re-sign up. I encourage you, if you've appreciated the podcast and it's brought you, benefit, would love for you to go on patreon.com/PureHustlePodcast. The $5.55 tier is all good. We appreciate some of you have signed up for the other tiers. And again, we have no paywall. We're all about the free content. Our goal is to get to a place on Patreon that allows us to step away from reselling so we can create more content.
Yeah. When you say step away from reselling, you're not saying we're going to quit reselling.
No. Step away from
but be able to go back to making 2-3 episodes a week. Correct. And actually put in more effort into, like, can we have more content going out for, specific things like BOLOs or how to ship and how to package. We get a lot of requests for stuff like that. Like, you have videos on how to, ship stuff or pack stuff. And it's like, well, it's going to take me, because it's not just, it may take 10 minutes to pack and ship this thing. But by the time we film the video and edit it and do all this stuff, we're talking 3-4 hours. And it's like, that time, we can't give that time up from reselling to do that video. But, if we have a little bit more support with the podcast, we could do that. So again, thank you for all of you who are continuing to support us.
Correct. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you. All right. You have any random stories?
Yeah. I mean, this isn't like a huge one, but I was kind of interested on this. I found I was reading an article, or it might have been on Reddit, and I was just intrigued by the way somebody was packing an item. So, and it got me thinking of ways that I can use this. So what they did is they took a vacuum sealer, for like food, like a vacuum sealer thing. Okay. And they didn't use the vacuum portion of it, but they used those vacuum sealers have a heat portion to them.
Yeah.
And
when they seal it.
Yeah, it seals. And they use that, and what they were doing is they were taking like old Amazon bubble packages, like big ones, but if they were shipping something small, they're pretty much cutting it to size for the item and then using the sealing portion of that. and being able to almost repurpose things. And then I was reading other people saying, yeah, I do the same thing, but instead of a vacuum sealer, you can actually get on Amazon, or I think Uline has one too. I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to mention it next time. But it's basically just a heat sealing thing. Like it just almost looks like a paper cutter. It just comes down.
Some Amazon sellers use that.
Do they?
Yeah, to sell used items as new.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But yeah,
not sharing that information, but it's already out there.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. But then I was reading how people use these, and some people will buy they'll buy like a big box of like food bags, like silver line, so basically like poly bags, or other people are saying they're using poly bags or other bubble mailers. And so you can ship smaller items. And there's a lot of times where I'm shipping something small, and I usually just buy like 1 or 2 sizes of poly mailers. And what I end up doing is folding it over and taping it, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if I could get 2 or 3 shipments out of it and it looks a little cleaner,
saves you money.
It saves money, right? And so I was like, man, this is a really cool thing. So I'm interested. Let us know below if you've ever used anything like that before. And I definitely want to try it, because there's a lot of times, whether it's a small book or a CD or a game or something like that, and it's going in a bubble mailer, but I don't want a big one, which is fine to tape it up and things like that. But I'm like, man, this might be a new way of even some people who might be more like environmentally friendly, and they're like, how can I reuse? Because we all probably at some point either did or still use like Amazon boxes that come in like, oh, it's a perfect size box for a board game. I'm going to keep this. So why not the things that come in the bubble mailers from Amazon, right? If you can seal it. I mean, some people are even saying you can use some rubbing alcohol and you can wipe off the Amazon logo.
Yeah, I don't think you need to do all that.
No, you don't. I don't think you need to. No, for sure. I don't think anybody cares either. But I'm just saying that you can reuse a lot of those things. And if you can sometimes they come in really big bubble mailer things. It's like, I could fit 4 of these small things that I have, whether it's a video game or whatever, into this. And I can basically, triple, the amount of things I can ship on one thing that I'm reusing. So kind of a cool thing that I just saw. And I was like, man, this is something I kind of want to share on the podcast, just because it might be useful to some people. And I'm definitely going to give it a try.
Yeah. Those Amazon poly bags I use all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever I get them, I reuse them. And I want to correct, something. It's a lot of people that use those sealers, those plastic sealers, the thermal ones. It's not necessarily they're trying to, sell you stuff as new, but sometimes you pick up something and there's like a tear in the plastic or something. So they'll reseal it. It's still new, but Amazon, they're very strict about it. Right. So, to each their own. I personally don't do it. I've never wanted to, because I don't know. I like sleeping at night, but if it works for you, it works for you, All right. Two things. Have we talked about Shop Airlines before? Do you know what that is? Okay. So, think about, there's like GSP, right?
Right.
eBay Global Shipping. And then there's, is that you or me? That's me. That's something just sold. Oh, sorry. Nice. I sold a pair of Doc Martens with a hole in it. That's the power of Doc Martens.
Yeah, they knew it was a hole in it.
Yeah, there's a hole in it.
Nice.
So there's this company, and again, I'm not being paid by them. I'm not shouting them out. But if you ever get an email, like not an email, but a message. So you sell something and then you get a message and they're like, hey, can you put the item number on the package? We'll really appreciate that. And it says Shop Airlines. They're a legit company. So they're basically a freight forwarder. I consider them like the GSP to other parts of the world, because what you do is you ship it out to, I think it's Redondo Beach, and then they ship it out to their buyers. Whether I think it's like most of them are in Japan or other parts of East Asia. And, I've always, I think I shared this on the podcast before. I don't know, but I've shared it on Instagram. Here's what's weird. So I shared the message that they sent me on Instagram. I'm not saying they follow PRSO podcast, so maybe they're listening. But I said, this is not a scam. They're great. And then all these people got on Instagram and were like, yeah, I love them. They always buy. And they do. They pay either full price. You never get a return. They're kind of like drop shippers, right? No big deal. Within hours, I get 2 more sales from the company. And I'm like, this coincidence? Or did they... I don't know. It was just weird.
Maybe they're wanting some advertisement,
and they just got it. They just got it. But I'm okay with that, because I love selling to them. I love selling. They never lowball. I don't get offers. They just buy it outright. So if you ever see that, I wouldn't hesitate. right? And I put the item number, and since it's in Redondo Beach and we're in San Diego, like it gets there the next day. So I think maybe that's why I'm getting the other sales, because I'm shipping out. I have a guy right now buying Hot Wheels from me, and it's literally, the place is 45 minutes away. So I think the last 2-3 days he just keeps buying because he gets it the next day and he's like, I want more. And then he goes on my store. And so it's been good. All right. I've talked about this before. So if you sell on Amazon, if you do merchant fulfilled and you kind of have items that you're like, I don't like the price that it's at, I want to wait a little bit, still list it, but list it higher. But be careful, because Amazon in their non-capitalistic way will tell you your price is too high. But I find that I've found like an advantage because I ship to Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is a place you can lose a lot of money if you ship out there, because FedEx doesn't go out there and UPS doesn't go out there. Right. And the only way I've been able to ship out there, at a decent price has been USPS priority, either through their flat shipping services or through, I always say it wrong. Parcel. See, I do have a master's. Just
say it with like a French accent.
Parcel.
And it doesn't matter how you say it. Like,
that's how I say it.
Through parcel.
Parcel post. And I've been selling, like, for example, one item has been selling for like 120, and I've been selling it for 200 consistently, and it's all been going to Puerto Rico. Now, am I spending a little bit more on the shipping than if it was within the 48, how do you say it? 48 local state. What is it called?
Continental.
Yeah. 48 continental United States, which is weird because isn't Alaska on the same continent? All right. Anyways, I've been spending like maybe $10 more, but I've been making $40 to $50 more profit on the item than other sellers. So just something to think about. I always say you put yourself at a disadvantage if you're not selling globally. You are missing out on sales. There's so much money to be made. So if you haven't turned on, at least do eBay GSP. And later I'm going to talk about why it's better than standard delivery. And I know some people are going to comment. So comment. Let me know why I'm wrong. But go international. Just go international. All right. Hey, before we move on to our reseller topics, because this is going to be the winter update reselling topics. Because we already talked about inflation. So that's pretty much the thing.
Skip that one. Yeah.
We got a lot to talk about. But before we do, AmericanBoboBoy.com.
Yeah. Great
company. Fast shipping. Amazing product.
That's right.
So if you haven't yet ordered from AmericanBoboBoy.com, go there. If you're a first-time buyer, you get a discount. Pure Hustle Podcast is our promo code. Go to the link below, and you get that bubble wrap next day if you're close enough. 2-day, all free, or you can do local pickup. And they also have these different kind of packaging materials on there that can help you out. Are they called Instapacks? I think it was called Instapacks.
Yeah, so fun.
So again, AmericanBoboBoy.com, promo code Pure Hustle Podcast.
Yeah.
All right, it is time to talk about what's going on in the reselling world.
eBay is updating, maybe glitching. Things are changing in the reselling world, and we're going to keep you update. And Orlando, take it away.
All right. So there's a few things going on here with this winter update. This could possibly be the same level of update as when they introduced send offers. That's the kind of update this could be. But only if eBay does follow through. And that's concern. So we're going to talk about a few things. I will say, let's talk about the biggest one. This is the one where they need to follow through. They have stated on this update that they are reducing unpaid items on offers, which they have said that before. But I think this is different because now it's in writing. Now it's there, right? And so let me read it if I can get to it. But
reducing, not eliminating.
Well, that's what I mean.
I mean, because in writing, all they got to do is reduce it by like 1% across the board.
No. I think they mean more than that. So
I'm just saying, like, if you're putting hope in the fact that it's in writing, like they can hold up to their end of the deal.
True. But I think their goal is to finally be done with it, which has always been a thing for me. So this is what they said: we're continuing work we started in 2021 to reduce unpaid items on eBay, which we know has been a long-standing challenge for many of you. In October 2021, we piloted a new process for collecting payments from a buyer automatically following acceptance of their offer. To do this, we asked the buyer to payment and shipping details in the best offer flows. In the coming weeks, we plan to expand our coverage and include more buyers, which should further reduce unpaid items. By mid-year, we'll start collecting payments details in other best offer scenarios, including counter offers and offers to buyers. These changes will be applied automatically for buyers, so you don't need to update anything, blah, blah, blah. So
I can't imagine like being on the pilot of that. Like imagine me and you are friends. We're both buying stuff on eBay. And you're like, oh, I'm going to send an offer on this thing. And I send it and then it's accepted. I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy it. And then you send an offer and you're like, wait a minute, I have to put in all my information first. You know what I mean? Like it'd be like, how come I have to do they think I'm sketchy? Why do I have to put in my credit card information before I send the offer? But I mean, if it's across the board, I get that they got to pilot it. Or I wonder if they ask people, do you want to be a part of our pilot program?
But it's industry standard. Like on Amazon, you have to put your information before. On Mercari, you have to put your information before. On Poshmark, on Depop, on Grail.
But there's not offers on Amazon. So it is different.
But there's offers on Poshmark.
Yeah.
Like whenever I buy stuff on Poshmark.
But you can't consider Poshmark industry standard at the same time that you consider Poshmark as such a small fish that it doesn't matter.
True, but I am grateful.
But that goes to show that Poshmark has made waves and is changing the way companies like eBay have to do business.
So let's put it this way. I am extremely hopeful that this it's going to be July. We're going to be like, wow, I have not had an unpaid item in an entire month. Because even right now, I have an item that's sold for $800. Not paid for. You know, it's like, oh, I got it. But they haven't paid for it yet. Right?
The hard part would be with like bids. You know what I mean? Because if you're going back and forth bidding, like, would you have to ahead of time say like, I approve bids up to X amount, and then they would check your account that you have it, and then you put in the bids?
I don't know how it would work on that end, but at least the payment information is there. But the payment information should be there. Like whenever
but even with payment information there, that doesn't mean that it's going to be paid, right?
True. I don't know. I mean,
I'm hopeful. I wonder, because there's going to be reasons they haven't done this yet, right? And part of it might be just infrastructure. They haven't had the infrastructure to do it, or part of it could be that they just think that it would cause too many headaches for buyers and sellers, not sellers probably, but the buyers, that it would push buyers away.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be great. Thank you, eBay, for finally doing this.
I agree. I'm excited too.
Yeah.
I think you're like trying to make it seem like I'm not excited. I'm excited.
No. I feel like I came across like, oh, well, you know, but no, I'm pumped about this. Here's another change, which I think this is going to be just as good as the send offer option is. Now there's a different flow to their messaging. I don't know if you've been able to beta test that. Here's what's weird. Here's another thing. So I took a screenshot of the winter update and how they show. So the flow is basically like getting DMs on Instagram.
Okay.
So you know how you get messages now and it's like super antiquated. It's like you get an email, yep. But I think it's worse than getting an email because you have to go to the message, you have to find the message, and then you have to like type it in and then you hit send. So I posted on Instagram. Within 30 minutes, it pops up on my phone that I can be one of the beta testers. I'm like, wow, this is so. Whoever's watching, I appreciate you.
Yeah, don't forget Mike from PRS Podcast.
There you go.
You have my store too.
So I've been using it, and it's a game. It's a game changer. I love how it works. It's basically like DMs are set up, and so you know you have this flow, and you're just texting back and forth with people, and it's pretty easy. And you know, eBay, if you're listening, one thing I do suggest: make sure you put that option where you can just mark it with a thumbs up. You know when people are like texting and you're like, I don't want to text more, and you just do the thumb up. Do you know what I'm saying? Do I do that to you, Mike?
No, I probably do that to you more. I mean, I don't do thumbs up. I just ghost you. But that's cool. I just wonder though if that's less professional, right? Like they might want to keep those kinds of emojis out of it for that reason.
But at least so you know that you got the message.
Say, sounds good. Or
you could. I don't know. It's more. I'm just trying to save time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it's been nice because I've been able to upload photos on there real easily. I get back to people, and you know the other thing I'm wondering: are they gonna add like the unread and read feature on there? Like our sellers, our buyers going to know if you read their message and left them on red? You know, I don't know. We'll see.
You'll have to have like it set up with an automated thing. Thank you for your message. I will respond within 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I do think the algorithm is going to pick up on how fast you respond. Right. So like on OfferUp, you ever see that like responds in 4 minutes? I wonder, it doesn't say 4 minutes, responds in, I don't know what's it usually like, responds in a few minutes, or responds in a few hours or a few days. I wonder if eBay is going to put that on there. And this goes on to the other update that they're doing. They're looking to make your store a bigger deal. So have you noticed at the front of your store, on your storefront, it says how many items you sold in a lifetime?
I don't know. Yeah. Does it?
Yeah.
I don't go onto my storefront because I don't really run my store like that. I mean, you have a lot more like, I guess I have.
No, I don't run it like that. But a few people brought this to my attention earlier in the year. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, sure enough, like you pull it up and it tells you how many followers. I have over 800 followers on my eBay store.
Oh man, you're famous.
I hope you're buying. And then it tells you how many items you sold, right? And so I'm wondering if, obviously it's gonna play. I think it's gonna play a major part. And the other update that they're doing with this is there's gonna be a feedback tab. Now on the mobile app, there's already a feedback tab. So if people want to see what you're about, they just click on that feedback tab and all your feedback comes up. Right. And so right now it's not on the desktop version. But I think it's great. I think it's a good idea. I think it's going to separate, sellers who, perform poorly and who, actually care about what they're doing. Now, this other update, I think, is going to reinforce that even more. And they are raising the fee on below standard sellers on eBay. So what that means, so they're raising it by 5 to 6%.
From 5 to 6?
Yeah, from 5 to 6. So if you're a below standard seller, you're going to have higher value fees. And I love this.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I explain why. So Amazon, okay? So Amazon, a lot of people are not going to like what I'm going to say. But one of the good things about Amazon and gating is that it keeps out all the scammers. It keeps out people that are selling trash. People are selling empty boxes. And so what gating does, it keeps the people that actually care about their Amazon business in business.
Yeah.
Right. And this last Q4, there were a lot of things that are ungated. And unfortunately, there's a race to the bottom and, there wasn't money to be made. And there were people on there that had feedback that was like 50%, 75%. I'm like, how are these people selling? And all they're doing is they're lowballing everything. Right. And so I think eBay is definitely going to be looking at metrics a lot more, as far as the messaging goes, as far as, your sell through rate, how much you've sold. I think all that's going to play a part. And again, this whole below standard thing, it's you set up what you want to do. Right. You want to do 1 day handling. You want to do 2 day handling. Right. To be top rated seller. Well, you have to go according to eBay standards,
which I don't feel like it was that hard to get. Like, I was top rated seller like pretty early on selling. Yeah.
I mean, there's a certain threshold of items that you have to sell. And then you have to have 1 day shipping. I could be wrong, 1 business day. And you have to offer returns. Right. But it's not tough.
Yeah. It's not that hard. What I think though, so they do kind of reward, 1, maybe through the algorithm, like good sellers, and 2 through seller protections. But I kind of almost feel like this is like a Gulliver's Travels thing where like, as communities will punish those who do poorly, right? You speed, you get a ticket. You don't pay your taxes, you go to jail, right? Like all of those things, and it makes sense. You got to punish people who do poorly. So if you're not holding up to your end of the deal on eBay, then okay, we're going to charge you more until you can prove yourself. But I just wish that there was more in our society of reward for doing well. Like there's no like, hey, you've always paid your taxes. Here, your taxes are less than, people who don't always pay.
Wonderful.
Or you never speed, so your car registration is half the price. Or something like that. There should be reward, and in some industries
they should do that.
But yeah,
they should do that.
What I think is,
I speed, but I don't get tickets.
But I'm thinking like, okay, so 5 to 6%. So from going from 5 to 6 for those who are a low performing seller makes sense. But if you're like consistently doing well, you're a top seller, you're trying really hard, your metrics are good, your feedback is good, What if it went from 5 to 4%, right? So it's on both ends of the spectrum. Like I'd love to see that. I mean, and there are some rewards for, like I said, you're higher up on the search algorithm.
They used to take less of your final value for you. It used to be 20%, and then it went down to 10%. You know, so there is that, but they've gone away from that, and maybe need to come back to that, right? And again, I agree. Now it does indirectly affect you, though. You know, we talked about this in that episode about why having great feedback is important, right? Even if they don't monetarily. Which I think they should. I think they should make it more advantageous for people to become better sellers. Maybe you don't pay as much on your store subscription, right? I mean, I think there's various ways to do it, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I do think that eBay is trying to, I don't know, maybe not rebrand, but we talked about how their valuation of their gross merchandise value has gone down, right?
But their bottom line is going up.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's coming from fees. But it's interesting though, because I saw an article recently that kind of confirmed, you've said a lot about like eBay still being the big one as far as used goods. And I've never doubted that it's the biggest thing out there now. I think that it's having a hard time keeping up with new changes in society and social media and all of those things. But I read an article and it was from like a group that like they specifically focus on, I think it was like used Transformer toys. It was like like their group, and the article that they wrote, and they did like a survey, like where do you go to most? Like, are people still using eBay to get their stuff? Like, where do people go through? And so all of the people on this forum and on this website that are like hardcore Transformers toys filled out the poll, and eBay won by like 80%.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, all right, okay. So this is still where people are going. And it had a list of like 12 different places people could go to buy used Transformers, and eBay was still the number one. So they obviously they have a lot of name recognition. They've got the biggest pool of buyers for those types of things. I just hope that these kinds of changes continue and move in a direction like you just said, something simple like the messaging is more like what we're used to with a DM or even offer up, as opposed to it's almost like a weird email thing. And like, wait, was it on this thread or no, it was on this other thread that it got sent, that I sent my response on. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting that they're making some updates. I just hope they can do it fast enough before, somebody else comes in and makes something better. Yeah.
And I'm also grateful that they're focusing more on the mobile app than on the desktop. I mean, unfortunately, there's parts of the desktop that are still trapped in the 90s, but I'd rather do stuff on my phone.
If you're doing eBay on your desktop primarily, I don't think you care.
I care though. I do it primarily. I mean, I do my listings primarily still on my MacBook, right? I don't do it on my phone. But, my interaction throughout the day, my messaging, my accepting offers, my checking of messages, all that, that's all done on my phone. And I love the fact that they're streamlining that, because I think more people are going that direction. So, and then there's a few other things. Again, I'm just focusing on what affects our business. And so you should check it out. Everyone should read it. There's always, I always love it when there's that surprise, right? Later on, I was like, well, it was actually in the update, so everybody should check it out. And by the way, fees are going up all around, which I'm not surprised. I mean, we have inflation at 7.5 point. I mean, what they have to make money too. So, it is what it is. All right, hey, real quick. One thing I wanted to talk about is eBay standard delivery. Did I talk about this last podcast? How
I don't remember.
Stuff gets stuck in customs, and so.
Oh yeah.
Did I talk about this?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I just want to reiterate. I had another item, that I sent, and it went to Brazil, and I mailed it out early November, and I got a message last week, and I was like, "Hey, I never got this item." So I'm like, "What?" Like this. So I look, and sure enough, it was stuck in customs in Brazil. And I had I posted on Instagram, and a lot of people on Instagram were like, oh, I before global shipping, I never shipped Brazil. Stuff always got stolen or lost. And I remember Brazil was under eBay global shipping at one point in time, and they're not there anymore. And, I had, some of our loyal listeners had commented, well, Orlando, you still make a lot more money selling eBay standard delivery or eBay international standard, whatever it's called. And I think that's true. I don't like dealing with a headache. Right. And so, eBay global shipping, the buyers up front know what they have to pay. They don't have to go anywhere else. They already paid all up front. And yeah, is it more than normal? Sure. But you don't have to deal with that headache. And so I only deal with eBay standard delivery if I with like, let's say Harley shirts or anything first class, I'm willing to do it. Anything above that, I go eBay global shipping because I don't want to deal with the hassle. So the difference is, in case you're new and you're wondering, eBay global shipping is you just ship to Kentucky and that's it. And whatever happens after Kentucky, it's not your problem. And on top of that, the buyer pays all the custom import. The eBay gives them some number and tells them this is what you have to pay, and they pay it. eBay standard delivery is cheaper for the buyer because those costs of importation and customs, they don't pay it up front. They pay it on the back end when it arrives to their location, and then they have to go pick it up. In order to release that item to them, they have to pay those fees. And I've had, in the recent past, I've had a few that just didn't pay it. And so what do you do after that? But eBay does offer protections. It's just, I don't want to deal with the messaging. Even with the new messaging, I don't want to deal with the messaging. So, all right, that's all I got for reseller topics.
It's good.
So, all right, hey, before we move, no, let's do BOLOs. No, let's talk about social media. What should we do?
Let's do it.
Okay. Media. Hey, if you haven't followed us on social media, and before we do that though, if you haven't been watching us on YouTube, you're catching the podcast,
smash it. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button, because if you're listening on the podcast only, we love you. Please keep listening. But you're missing content. Every Monday, we have another mini-sode that gets released. And occasionally, we were doing Saturdays like very regularly, and that's kind of slowed down right now. But we're definitely going to get back to, we drop things just randomly, videos.
It just takes time. Yeah. I got to tell you that's been the thing. And I'm in a different stage in life with my kids. Yeah. And so it's hard.
But either way, you're missing content if you're not subscribed to YouTube. So get subscribed to YouTube.
There you go. You can also
get subscribed
and
get subscribed.
Follow us on social media. We're Pierce Oak Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, which we need to get back to TikTok eventually. I think a lot of people are on TikTok and they don't say they're on TikTok. That's my belief. Also, you can shoot us an email, pureosopodcast@gmail.com. That's pureosopodcast@gmail.com. Or call us 619-738-1170. 619-738-1170. Have we had any interesting calls that we need to play lately?
I don't know. I need to check.
I haven't seen any. But would love that. And also, you can always help us out if outside of signing up on Patreon at Pierce Podcast, on the the review site for Apple iTunes. Always helpful to us. It allows us to be higher in the search. When people type in Pure as a podcast, I think is the third thing that pops up now. I'd love it to be number one. And one of the ways to do that is by having more reviews on there, just getting us up on the reselling ladder.
Let's get so many reviews that if somebody's finger hovers over the P button, Pure Hustle Podcast jumps up.
On the SEO, it's Pure Hustle Podcast.
We know it's going to be Pure Hustle Podcast. It's got to be.
So, yeah, and we are the most reviewed reselling podcast and most listened to reselling podcast out there, but would love to just have the reviews catch up with all of that. So thank you for all your support. All right, are we ready? Are we ready to share what to look out for?
Bolo.
What's your bolo?
Yeah. So my bolo this week is one that I think when I first started reselling, I probably would have skipped over. So there's times I've been at thrift stores, garage sales, stuff like that. You're digging through boxes and you see maybe a video game box and you're like, oh, sweet. Like there's going to be a bunch of money here, this video game. But then it's like the box is empty or it's the wrong games in it.
Yeah.
All hope is not lost, because not only do boxes sell really well, empty boxes, video games, but manuals sell really well. Mm-hmm. Now, depending on the manual, so some manuals can sell for $40, $70. We're talking like a very rare one or a certain game, or some of them come with the manual plus a poster. Yeah. But even just like a regular like Zelda or Star Fox or all these random games, I was looking up a lot for Nintendo 64. And the Nintendo 64, and this, probably more for the older consoles, more than like, PlayStation 2 or 3. But if you got a manual for a game, because a lot of people get the game used and they want the complete set, right? Maybe they have a lot of times when you buy stuff, it's like no manual. Mm-hmm. And they just want that box with the game in it and a manual. And so I see them selling, and I've sold them before. You're almost guaranteed, I feel like $10. It depends on the manual. Some of them 5, 6. But when you can find a whole bunch of them and you can buy 5, 6 manuals, or sometimes it comes like someone's got a box of video game stuff and you buy 1 or 2 games and there's a bunch of manuals and you just throw those in with the bundle that could pay for the bundle. So don't be afraid to pick up just the manuals of games, the inserts, the posters that come with games, and boxes, empty boxes, because those can sell really well.
And so what's happening with those too is there are some people, I know some resellers that, they buy them out and then they just wait. And once they get that game, they have the whole complete, they have the box, they have the manual, and they can sell it for a lot more. So that's another way you could do it too, So, and the video game market is still hot. So there's plenty of opportunity out there. All right. So I feel like we repeat Bolo. So I'm sorry if I did, but vintage toy accessories. So I don't know what's going on. Like, I had mentioned about my haul with He-Man toys and all that, but even with Transformers, even like little guns that are part of a character, like something that Optimus Prime would have been holding or whatever it is, those sell for good money. I've sold like a
Barbie hairbrushes.
Well, I don't know Barbie hair, but yeah, same. I mean, I sold a Skeletor loincloth, whatever. I mean, the thing, right? And that thing sold for like $25 plus $4 shipping. It's just this little purple piece, right? I've sold all kinds.
Which goes to show, like, there's times where I've bought a box of random toys like that, like some He-Man toys. Like I've bought some before. And then as I'm looking through, it's like, man, this one's missing a head. This one's arm is all messed up. But yeah, if there's some accessories on there, you can still, these are junk toys. This one's missing a head.
Oh, I've sold stuff with missing arms.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I actually had somebody just send me feedback. There was a He-Man, I forget what character it was, but I didn't have all the accessories on him, only like one half of his accessories. And the feedback I got was, this is an amazing piece. So glad I can add this to my collection. I was like, what? So don't discard those pieces. Like, those accessories help. And again, it's just like the manuals. Sometimes people are just trying to complete what they have and they're willing to pay that money to complete it. I had somebody through global shipping buy a He-Man axe, shield, and spear or something, and they paid $34 via global shipping. So I think they paid more in shipping to get it to them. Right? So you just never know. So keep an eye out. All right. Man, I feel like we flew through Bolos there. So
no, it's good.
It's just normal. Okay. Now, is there another thing to look out if you need to shave your head?
Yeah.
It's called the skull shaver.
Yeah, I got a cool story about my skull shaver. So,
do you?
I would love using the skull shaver. It's a great product. It's super high quality, and you can tell it's high quality when you feel it, when you look at it. And I was at the gym the other day, and I was like in the locker room part, and there's like a mirror there that's not by like the sinks in the bathrooms, because I don't like doing shaving and stuff over there anymore, because it's a bathroom, it stinks. So I'm in the locker room part by the mirror, and I'm just shaving my head really quick. It takes a minute or so. And there was an older guy in there with a really nice beard. I mean, he's got a long gray beard, and he looks at me, and I had my headphones in, so I couldn't hear him, but I saw him in the mirror, like looking at me, and I saw his mouth moving. So I take my headphones out, and I'm like, what's that? And he goes, oh, what is that you got there? And I was like, oh, it's a skull shaver. It's for my head. And he goes, how much does something like that cost you? So I told him, like, well, it's, it's not like super cheap. And I gave him, the price of the model I had. I said, but it's like really good quality. And then he takes his hat off, and he basically had what I talk about, like if you're holding on to your hair, right? Where it's like, he's got a little bit of a comb over, it's very bald in the middle. And he's like, yeah, I've kind of always wanted to shave my head, but it's just such a hassle. He's all, but that looks so easy. And I'm like, it really, and so I'm almost like, man, I'm doing like an advertisement right here for this guy in the gym. But it really is
weird if you did an Instagram story in the locker room.
Hey, I'm here right now. And yeah, but honestly, like, he could tell just by looking at it, like, whoa, that thing is cool, right? And if you're on Instagram, you've seen skull shavers, like, it's a good company. But if you've never seen one before, it's different than the old school ways of shaving your head, even with the electric razors, where it's like, oh, look, it's an electric razor. And it's like, those things never worked. Never worked. The ones with the foil, like they snagged your hair. They never got very close. This gets close. This gets basically razor close, and it's fast. It's easy. You can use it wet in the shower. If you haven't picked up a skull shaver yet, definitely consider doing it. I love it. Orlando loves it. It's easy. It's fast. I use it in the car. I use it on the go. The battery life lasts forever. So check it out. Use promo code PHP when you buy your skull shaver, because you will get a nice discount. It lets them know that we sent you, and you're not going to regret it.
All right. That was a good story. Good story, bro. All right.
Thanks, bro.
All right. What are you looking for?
At the gym, bro. I was just like pumping weights, getting a nice pump and using my skull shaver, bro.
Anyways, I don't need to go into the locker room. All right. Looking forward to next week. What are you looking forward to, Mike?
It's got to be this fifth wheel sell, and I'm really I'm hopeful, but not hopeful because I don't trust anybody anymore. But I've talked. We talked earlier, a month ago or so about starting a Discord for PHP Podcast, and that's not out of the picture. That's something I'm still definitely wanting to get rolling. But like I said, just so consumed right now with this fifth wheel sell, showing hours and hours a week of dealing with this. So once this goes, I can really get back to sourcing, back to listing, and then get this Discord going for our reselling group. Which if you don't know what we talked about with that, it's not going to be a paid Discord. It's just going to be a place for resellers to hang out, nice little community. So all of it's kind of like this domino has to fall, when there's that one thing that's just holding everything up. And once this domino falls, we're good to go.
Now, I'm just going to throw this out on the podcast right now. Are we adverse to, let's say, collabing with other creators to make it a paid one if we can offer different services?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that I want to have something that's not behind a paywall. But yeah, I think
the only reason I say that, there's two reasons. One is I love how we're just discussing it. We haven't talked about this at all. We decided on podcast. But the only reason I'm saying this is I want to, we always want to provide value, right? And I've been in some Discords where it's been completely free. And what happens is it becomes a place that people don't want to go to because, if you don't value something, you don't add to the conversation, right? So I'm just contemplating.
Yeah. No, I mean,
let us know your thoughts.
We're all of our content, PHP Podcast, the content we put out in this way has always been free and always will be. But yeah, we both have worked or currently work in education, and we know the value of an education and stuff. So I definitely think that if we were providing more one-on-one, almost like here's special one-on-one help or extra stuff. So nobody ever worry that PHP Podcast, the way you experience PHP Podcast would go away. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that people have even said like, hey, will you coach us? And we're not at a place where we want to do that specifically right now. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, our time is valuable, just like your time as a listener is valuable. And so, yeah, I mean, if there's that level of commitment and information and whatever it is, then yeah, I think I'm not adverse to that.
All right. I'm glad we had this discussion on air for everyone to listen.
Yeah. And so it's going to be $2.99 flat rate, unless you want to get our premium service. The premium service is going to be $6.99, but you'll get 2 5-minute phone calls. No, I'm just kidding. We kid. Again, we kid. So, but anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments. All right. So, well, I'm looking forward to it too. I just, it's another way for us to communicate with, the PRSL community. So it's going to be awesome. All right. What are you looking forward to?
So I got to wrap up taxes, and I hate taxes.
I got an eBay message about taxes.
What was it?
Did you?
I think I did. I
got the 1099 from eBay.
Oh, that they sent the wrong info?
Yeah, and but I don't think they really sent wrong info. I think what they sent it out before they were supposed to. They didn't technically legally need to send out 1099s because they're not reporting it to the IRS at this point. If you're under,
they sent it out to everyone though.
But isn't that funny though? Because like they're apologizing for sending a 1099, but it kind of helps, right? Like when I do my taxes and I have to do all the math myself, and it's like, no, don't say sorry. I was gonna claim this money anyways. Now it's just all added up for me. So thanks.
Yeah, no, and I get mine anyways. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it just because the thing is with bookkeeping is I'm not the best at bookkeeping. And so if you're good about bookkeeping, this time isn't stressful. If you're like Orlando, it's stressful. And so I have to go through and I have to, I have to check what didn't sell, and I have to check on my Amazon and my Mail and all that. So it's going to be a huge mess. So that's going to be fun. I am looking to get rid of inventory I don't list. I'm getting to a place now where I'm kind of funneling. I'm trying to more streamline what I do. So, I've had some people reach out to me, because I have, for example, certain items that, they need repair or they're missing a piece. And I kind of like, it just sits there. And I'm just like, I don't want to deal with it. And I've had other people reach out to me like, hey, I do this all the time. I'd be willing to pay this for it. And I'm like, maybe I'll just offload all that stuff, right? I'm not a fan of donating. I do not donate stuff. I will sell it for cheap, or I will sell it at a good price, but I will not donate it. Does that sound wrong? I don't know.
Sounds pretty cool.
I mean, I donate.
I donate stuff.
No. I don't donate stuff that I have for reselling. I donate stuff all the time. I don't donate my reselling inventory. So, and the other thing is I want to get to 3K plus listings. I'm almost there. And I felt the effects of, I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning of the podcast, but I've been listing like crazy and sales have been coming through. You are 100% right that the more you list, the more you sell. And that has been true for me despite all the glitches. So they've been coming through. So I'm excited to be able to level that up more.
Yeah.
And hopefully all of you out there have been able to level up. And this episode has been especially helpful to you. Looking forward to hearing from you in the comments. Find us on Instagram. Sign up on Patreon. Whatever way you can be out there. Appreciate all of you. With that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Late. Peace.